Hey, what's up, everybody? Looks like our speaker Drew might have gotten caught up with another meeting, so I'm gonna give it a minute or two and see if he shows up. But if not, we'll get it rescheduled and we'll come back probably next Friday. But I'm gonna give it a few minutes here and see if Drew shows up. I think he might have got caught up in another meeting. They're super busy, but yeah, we'll get it rescheduled if he doesn't make it, and hope everybody's doing well out there today in CBD land. I'm just over here having meetings. I'm about to go take care of my car today. It's one of those errand type of days, so just getting ready to do that. But hopefully Drew will pop in. But if not, like I said, I'll get this rescheduled. I see a bunch of people on right now, so like I said, our guest speaker is probably caught up in a meeting or something, so I apologize, people. But let me give him another minute or two. And anybody that's watching, if you got any questions, fire away. If you're stuck with anything or you need help with anything, or if you need any connections at all, I'm happy to help you out while we're sitting here waiting for Drew to show up. But yeah, so I'm just getting over COVID again. So I'm a little bit out of it, but I'm starting to feel better. Thank God. But yeah, it's been a rough year for all of us with COVID and all that. Great to see you. It just says Facebook user. Yeah, it looks like a lot of people have been getting COVID recently again. And so no fun, of course. And so I'm just finally starting to feel normal again after a couple weeks. But yeah, sorry to waste people's time here, but it looks like I'm going to have to reschedule this. But it's amazing, though. There's a lot of e-commerce brands that are getting great results using direct mail postcards, and so that's what we're going to talk about with Drew when I get this rescheduled. And you'd be surprised at the results, the ROI these e-commerce brands are getting. So yeah, it's amazing out there, and that's what I'm going to bring to the table when we reschedule this interview. But yeah, people, I hope you have a great Friday. And once again, I apologize. It looks like I wasn't able to get Drew on, even though we confirmed it. So something probably just, oh, wait, here he is. It's perfect timing.
A little trouble getting in.
Hey, Drew, there he is. How's it going, man?
Good. How you
Good.
feeling?
Oh, getting there. I'm getting better. Thank God. So
Yeah.
yeah, still a little out of it, but I'll hang in there.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for hopping on, Drew. I know you're a busy man, and appreciate you hopping on with us.
Man, it was I wish I could blame busy. I'm blaming technical incompetence.
No worries. Yeah, sometimes yeah, we have these little hiccups, but no worries. We got a bunch of people on watching, and a lot of people will watch the recordings later. So
Sure thing.
nice, man. So Drew, tell me about your background and what is Postpilot and why did you launch it?
Man, I've been in e-commerce for 20 years. I've run brands myself. Like I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I started my first brand, which was selling furniture online in like 2000. I have to
Wow.
date myself. And ran an apparel brand and an automotive aftermarket brand. And throughout those 20 years, I used direct mail as like my secret sauce in a way. And the reason was because anybody will say like your best target segment's always previous buyers,
Yeah.
right? So you're always going to do better with previous buyers than you will pure prospecting.
Yeah.
Um, and traditionally, you get them through email, right? Or you market to them through email and remarketing. But when you look at the data, like less than half of previous buyers on average subscribe to your list. And then of those that subscribe, average open rates maybe like 20-30%. So you got this scenario where, yeah, you got the super rich audience that likes you, that's bought from you before, and yet really only a smaller segment is the segment that hears from you. And so how do you target the other 80%? And I've always done it through postcards, and I've used it like sort of using postcards like email. I think when you say direct mail, people think of like carpet bombing a zip code, with prospecting. But actually, I used it more on the retention side to hit those previous buyers with really the same offers I was putting out in email, and it would always ROI. And so, maybe 3 years ago, I'm like, there's got to be like a Klaviyo for postcards. It's got to be. It's just hard. Direct mail's hard. I had to like download customer lists, find a printer, upload it, like export coupons, all this stuff. And there wasn't really a Klaviyo for postcards, so I don't know what you guys are familiar with in your world.
Oh yeah, we all use Klaviyo.
Yeah, Klaviyo, MailChimp.
Yeah.
So I found this developer who had built like a little plugin to Shopify, and I was like, that fired off a postcard, when someone bought something. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of what I want. I bought it off him, and we spent a year turning it into Klaviyo for postcards. So you can like integrate it with Shopify or whatever your e-commerce system, integrates with your email CRM, pulls in the customer data, and then you can build out flows, campaigns, segments, just like you can in your email software, but for postcards. So
that's too cool, man. I love it, man. I love trying to find different angles, like when everybody zigs, you want to zag, and not too many people are doing postcards, especially in the CBD world. There are some brands, I'm sure, but there's 6,000 brands. And so very few of those are actually implementing that. And I love it. Just any way you could touch your customers in different variations, whether it's email, postcards, or in-person events and things like that. It's just the more touches you can get, the better.
Yeah, there's a lot of science behind it. There's this book called How Brands Grow by Byron Sharp. It's really heavy. I mean, he's a big researcher, but he basically proves that same point, is like more touch points is better. You want somebody to be like blasted by your offer if they open the computer or if they open the mail or on their phone with SMS. But it's funny because like we launched this product and it was growing, it was getting some traction, but the thing that really kicked it into gear was iOS. When iOS came out, it made it harder for a lot of brands to market on Facebook.
Man, it's been a challenge.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, everybody's like, "What about direct mail?" And it's like, "All right, yeah, it works."
Perfect timing for you guys. Yeah, because it is a challenge, especially in the CBD world. It's so much more of a challenge even than a normal like supplement brand or something, to be able to advertise and get their brand out there. So to be able to send out a message through the post, like besides, you don't want to be making health claims, of course, like this cures cancer or something like that, but you can be more broad with your messaging and not have to worry as much as far as compliance goes.
Yeah, it's certainly something I didn't think about when we launched, but I'm seeing like we've got a lot of CBD customers and a lot of like alcohol brands, and just I never put one and two together until recently. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Because these guys can't, you guys know better than I would, but you can't buy like a Google AdWord or something, right?
You can, but it's tough. It's really challenging. And yeah, it's especially for smaller brands that are like under 150,000 a month in sales, it's going to be almost impossible to get ads pulled off. And so, a brand that's doing 50 to 100 grand a month, Pulse Pilot is perfect. And for the bigger brands, of course, as well. But like, it's just a great tool in the arsenal, spoke in the wheel that they can have. And I was even reading recently, like, looks like we're going through a recession. And I was reading this article about during the Great Depression, the brands that didn't stop advertising were the ones that flourished the best. Like even there were huge brands that stopped advertising and they just plummeted in sales. And so you can't stop advertising during a recession. You got to ramp it up.
Yeah, actually, I read a similar book on how to weather the recession, and it's like if you can, most brands, especially big ones, tend to cut their ad budgets, but that's like ideally not what you want to do. I know it's easier said than done, but
yeah, usually marketing that's one of the first things to go, but it's like that doesn't make sense.
No, it's a time to like grab share if you can, right?
Yeah, if you got the budgets for sure. And so so you kind of answered my question, but like what kind of content would you put in your campaign if you were a CBD brand? Would it be like 50% off sales and stuff like that? Or
can I share my screen?
Oh yeah, if you go down at the bottom.
Yeah, because I asked the team, let's see. Is this going to show my whole? Oh, no, I got it. Never used SteamYard before.
There we go. And I'll add that. There we go. Cool.
I asked the team, I'm like, hey, do we do any in preparation for this? I'm like, do we do any CBD? And it was like,
like oh, I love HelloNet is one of my favorite brands. They're an amazing company.
Yeah, I mean, I chose this one because it looked really cool.
Yeah, they're a really cool brand.
In the yeah, I mean, it looks very professional. It's like, I don't know, people get hung up on like, how do you design the postcard? But really, it's the same. I think about it like, how would you design an email or a Facebook ad? You want it visual works. It's a visual medium. You want a strong call to action. In this case, they're doing a discount, 15% off. A little bit of copy. It's these are all things that like are good for conversions, make it look nice. I see them not doing a couple of things, which is because the app plugs into Shopify or whatever they're using. You could pull in like the customer's name, just be like, "Hey, John."
I like that. Oh, I think they did. Yeah, it says "Hey, Gary" on the top.
Or right, it does.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is probably this coupon code, like, is typical. I would say 95% of the brands that use Postpilot do a single use coupon code. So this is probably just a placeholder. But the idea is, you don't want it to go on the internet. You don't want it to go onto like Honey. So, we sync with like Shopify's coupons. So if you could do like a single use for this so it's like Gary in this case would have his unique code. I also see a lot of brands doing, share another screen if I have it. Another example up here of a brand that was doing, that was kind of doing QR codes. So a lot of people do QR codes in the postcard itself, which allows somebody to scan it. And then, abandoned cart's a great example where you would pull whatever the customer had in the cart, shows up dynamically on the card with a QR code. They scan it, they go right back in.
That's cool, man. I like that.
Yeah, like I like to do that, like usually with a lag of a couple of days where it's like, naturally you're going to hit them with email and SMS first because it's cheap. It's almost free, right? Or at least email is. And yet if they don't convert, then hit them with a postcard. Something about postcards, like, yeah, it's more expensive to send a card than it is to send a single email. But on the flip side, we find that it converts higher, and it's essentially like bigger impact, even though it's more expensive.
Yeah, it's a novelty. I mean, like if I got a postcard from a cannabis company in the mail, I don't get postcards from cannabis companies in the mail ever. And so it would be like, oh, this is cool. Like this is different, like
yeah. I see that, I see that in social media, and everybody's like, oh, I always throw away all the junk mail, which it's like, yeah, but how much of your email do you archive? You know what I mean? Like it's all relative. Like the lifetime, I was reading somewhere, the lifetime of like an email is something like 15 seconds,
Wow.
And for a postcard, it's like 2 weeks.
Nice.
People get the card, and they like throw it on their counter, and the wife orders something off it, or someone else in the household orders something off it, and so that's why it's just like they convert better.
Yeah, and it's all about, we always go back to audience. If you know your brand audience, then you can send them appealing offers and appealing information in these postcards that they're actually not going to toss it out right away because you know your audience and what they want.
Totally. Like this is one campaign, I think that, I don't know, this is like
I love that brand.
Paleo Products brand, right? And so they're targeting, this should look familiar if you're in Klaviyo, is like you're targeting off of recency of purchase, number of orders. So here it's like a VIP win back. These are people who ordered from the brand a lot and then stopped. Like they ordered 3 times and yet they haven't been ordering and they haven't been around for 90 days, So it's a bit of a win back. They would automate this, so it always happens, and they probably have it coordinated with email, so that they're hitting them by email first. And if they're not converting on email, they get the postcard.
I love it.
Then they get the they get that card in the mail, and then the way that we measure attribution is really because we plug into the cart, we can get the straight up coupon redemption. So in this case, it looks like, okay, 43 coupons were redeemed.
Dang, that's a not a bad return on investment. I'll take that all day.
Well, the top one's better because this one, like up here, is customer tracking. And what we found is like you may give away 20% to bring that customer back. You know, they get the coupon, they order on coupon, but then that customer that would have defected comes back and orders again at full margin.
Yeah.
And so it's called the halo effect in marketing. And the only way you capture that is by running a control group. Is like, okay, the control group's not going to get the card at all. That's what this customer tracking at the top tracks. So it's like the customers redeemed 43 coupons, but they went on to order 160 times. And that's above the control group level. You know what I mean? So this is all incremental.
I love that. How long of a period is that after the postcard was sent, or does it show that?
This is a 60-day attribution window.
Wow.
And obviously it's dynamic because these cards are going out all the time. So it's like whenever we start it from when the customer receives the card.
Got it. Yeah, and a lot of the times they might not even use the code. They might just remember because they saw your postcard and it's in their mind. Oh, let me go order. You know? That's
totally the case. Is like you see all this weird stuff going on. And at first we thought it was like, are we running the queries right? You know, but it's like this dude gets a 20% off coupon, but didn't use it. That we see that a lot. And it's what you said. It's like, it's just the brand is now top of mind. So they order it again.
Yeah.
And then the other scenario is like people redeeming the coupons who didn't receive the coupons. If it's a single use. And then we looked into that and it's like other people in the household, or they are, you know, they're just being like, hey, check out this brand, you know, it's good. They hand it to somebody. So you see both of those things kind of going on.
I love it, man. And so with Postpilot, like, what is the investment to work with you guys on this? It seemed really affordable. Like, I was surprised at how affordable.
Yeah, we really, you know, you got to make the choice between trying to move your customers into like a subscription or let them almost like pay as you go. So we've just we have a subscription of 3 levels, like $99 a month. There's $4.99 a month, and then there's enterprise for really big businesses. And that just gives you a better deal on a postcard. But I would say most people come in at that, you know, if you're doing like a couple million or above a year, they end up on that pro plan, which is like the $4.99 a month. Postcards then are just a bit above cost. It's about like 45 cents a card.
Nice.
And you know that we always we do prospecting, by the way, but we always recommend people start on that retention stuff first, get the wins, get the ROI, and then like go up funnel into more prospecting stuff.
That makes sense. And that was another question I had too, is do you suggest people buy list of customers, or that just doesn't work? Like when you buy a list and send it out cold, is it better to just generate in-house leads and then send them postcards like you're saying, versus like just buying a list of potential customers somewhere and like blasting out postcards?
Yeah, no, that's my dog wanted to come in, by the way.
No worries.
Literally like every hour it's in and out, in and out.
Nice. I love dogs. So
yeah, just like a very neurotic dog. Yeah, you know, there are certainly plenty of brands that have grown purely off of buying lists. Like it happens, you know, it does happen, especially if that first thing you send out is like a catalog. It's going to cost a little bit more, but it gives the customer a complete merchandise sort of like they can buy from. They're more likely to convert because they can see like the complete lineup. We don't offer list buys at this point. I think the long-term vision for me is sort of Facebook lookalikes is where I want to end up with it, which is Q4. Nice. And that is where like we get your customer data. You could give us a segment that say like, this is our best customers, and we can match it to, you know, a prospecting audience.
Oh, I love that. So you're able to get their addresses off the lookalike data, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, the product right now, the prospecting you can do, we've got one called Mail Match. And what that is like most brands have this big email list of people who have never purchased, right? Like fence sitters. They
Yeah.
subscribe and then they're on your list for weeks and months and they go through your welcome sequence and you pound them and maybe you give them your best offer and eventually like, hey, I've given this guy 20% off. He still hasn't converted. What do I do with them? You can uh, we could match 60 to 80% of that list with a physical address, and then you
Wow,
could drop a postcard to that.
that's cool.
Yeah, so we just launched it. It's doing really well. I would say every customer has asked for it because then you can automate it. It just becomes like another. It's probably the most targeted direct mail prospecting you can do because these subscribers have already shown intent.
Yeah, it's
Um,
like retargeting in a way.
Yeah, and so after that, we're going to go from that. Q3 is more like IP targeting, so we can get physical addresses from just browser behavior,
Oh wow, that's cool.
and then is the pure lookalike, where it's like we can match audience data for you.
Got it. That's awesome. And then like let's say I have a bigger brand, do you let your customers send like larger postcards or catalogs like you were saying, or different things other than a standard size postcard?
Right now, the offering is postcards of all aspect ratios. I mean, they get pretty big, and we're rolling out like this thing called a cartalog, which is like a big postcard where you put your whole product lineup
Got it.
before we go, not to get geeky, but that's before we go multi-page, sort of in a more catalog format. Those kind of catalogs, I think, are going to be next year for us.
Gotcha. That sounds cool. So yeah, it's like oh, and then another question I had, let's say you have a CBD company and you're looking to get with distribution companies and storefronts like maybe mom and pop Whole Foods type stores and things like that. Would you, or like smoke shops, vape shops, would you suggest trying out the postcards with that? Like getting those addresses of the distribution companies and the store owners and trying out a blast with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not automated into the app to generate those lists. I mean, certainly if you could come to us with those lists, we could send to anybody.
Got it. Yeah,
Um,
you'd have to scrape the list and get it all the information and then send to you.
yeah, what we do see bigger brands doing is like those that are going through Whole Foods or Costco. They often do postcard drops with like a coupon or a QR code that's redeemable at checkout in brick and mortar.
Oh, that's cool.
Their goal is obviously to drive store sales because they want better placement in the store. So
Yeah.
that's a little bit of a unique case that I don't know how much of that applies to this audience, but we see a lot of that going on for bigger brands.
That makes me think of something too. Like if I had a CBD brick and mortar store, I would definitely be sending out postcards to my customers, like to get them back into the store and things
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, it's that kind of thing. There's driving to the store. We added handwriting as like an enhancement. So
Yeah, I saw that. That looked cool too. It looks legit, like a real handwritten postcard
it's kind
letter.
of like it's a warehouse room filled with these robotic arms. And it's like real pen on paper. And they basically like you could send them a sample or you could use one of ours, but they make errors as they write so that the human eye thinks it's human.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and we rolled that out. You can have that on any plan. It's more I was envisioning like influencer driven brands or like salesperson driven brands like, hey, thanks for your order, Bill. Hope you come by again or whatever to buy and so that's how we see people using it now.
Got it. That's awesome. And so like for a brand that's at like maybe let's say they're at like 5 or 10,000 a month and they might have like 5,000 people on their email list or somewhere around there. Um, they would probably start at the $99 a month program with you guys.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I think we can also do. I mean, we always can do pay as you go if you want to test out a campaign. But I would say for most, it's probably a 50-50 split between those two bottom the 99 and the 4.99 as far as
Got
our
it.
customers. We found that like you can explain direct mail to people, and everybody gets it. They're like, yeah, I know it works, but then there's sort of friction. Like they don't start. They're just like, I don't have the time, or it's great, I'll get to it. But that has caused us, like I show you the app here, but I would say 90% of our customers never log in. What we do is we've essentially built out like a direct mail agency in-house that's that does it for you. So it's like our customers interact with that team. It's like we you add the app to Shopify, we can then look at your campaigns, what's working. Hey, here are like 4 that might work for you. We'll build them out using your brand and what we see on your site. We go to you and say like, hey, what do you think? You give us feedback, and then we could tee it up and launch it and then show you the results. And it's good. And I mean, we have enough confidence in the app that we can do that for either for free or just like, hey, you don't pay if it doesn't ROI. It's sort of the deal we kind of make.
That's a huge offer, people. Did you hear that? Like,
did you hear that here?
If I had my brand, I would be calling you today to try it out.
Well, but I would say, we do have to be discriminating when we do that, because sometimes we'll look at your account and be like, I don't think it'll work.
Got it.
So you just got to accept that we might say that, but it's sort of that's the flip side of being able to say we're guaranteeing it.
Yeah, it's the same thing. We have a new agency where we do outreach to ambassadors and people of influence, and we turn down probably 80% of the brands that come to us because it's just I don't feel like I can get them results, and I'm not going to take their money if I can't get them.
Right. I mean, it's all, and it's all about reputation at the end of the day. It's like I don't want to jam some customer into this so that they churn in a month when it doesn't work. Like what does that accomplish, right? Like,
yeah. Then they're just going to be like, that guy Drew at Post Pilot, that shit doesn't work.
Totally. And it's like, I got to have my design team do all the work to do it. And like, we got to, it's more, let's go, like if it's going to work, you're going to stick. And if it's not going to work, then I'll tell you,
Nice. And you should know, people that are watching this, if you feel like you're going to be a good candidate, you should probably know your brand is strong enough. But, you can also reach out to me and I'll be able to probably tell you too if it's worth contact, because I don't want to bombard Drew too much. But
there's a little bit, I mean, this isn't a hard and fast line in the sand, but I find that like if you're doing over $1 million a year on Shopify, you can almost always get a positive ROI. That's sort of a rule of thumb.
Gotcha.
Below that, you might not have the customers or the scale to generate something that moves the needle for you.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's just tough for the startup brands. They got to find something to get them that momentum to get to that level. And that was another question I had for you, like a broader question, because you've been in e-commerce for quite some time. And it looks like I read an article the other day. They were saying how e-commerce is really slowing down recently as far as sales compared to the past couple of years. And so what's a piece of advice you could give brands now with this slowdown so they can stay on top of things? I know that's kind of a broad question, but
I've run brands through like 3 recessions, through like 2008 and the COVID one, and it's like you've got to cut costs like early. Like you said, one of those costs shouldn't be whatever you can do to not cut your ad costs is great. It's like agency costs come to mind, or just, like you can renegotiate a lot of these deals. You can go to all your vendors and try to renegotiate down.
I like that.
But it's, cutting costs is one. While you're keeping your foot on the gas on acquisition is how I see how we've weathered it, in the past. It's also like a lot of great brands have grown out of recessions. It's I think customers, they don't stop buying. They just reallocate their spend,
Yeah. And especially, I mean, we're lucky to be in the cannabis world. People usually still want to get high, during.
Yeah, actually, I think that isn't it like guns, butter, what I don't know if the expression. There's something about recessions where like these vices hold up. The vices, I say, even though I drink CBD hot chocolate to go to bed. It's not a vice, But
And now we have the Delta 8 and Delta 9 and all these other cannabinoids that get you high that are legal for the moment, and so hopefully we'll stay that way. And
I'm in San Diego, man. I can get it anyway.
Oh yeah,
It's funny, like if my wife and I are with the kids for a weekend, we just, it's like, let's get some CBD gummies because we can't deal with this with these kids. We're like, yeah.
A lot of the soccer moms nowadays are taking THC gummies at the soccer games because they just want to mellow out.
It's like the ultimate kid hack, and it's like a known thing that all the parents talk about. It's like,
well, yeah, now a lot of parents are giving their little kids CBD too, and it's great. I would, if I had a kid, I'd be giving them CBD to mellow their little ass out.
Yeah. We were doing it. Our dog, the hyper dog that goes in and out.
Yeah,
CBD chills her out too.
Oh yeah, I've seen miracles with dogs and people. Like one dog, I used to sell vet CBD at this dispensary that I ran, and this guy came in. His dog had a baseball-sized tumor. We got him on the vet CBD, and 2 months later, he comes back in the dispensary and he's crying and he's hugging me. He's like, "The tumor's gone," and I'm like, "Yeah." So yeah, it's just a blessing for what we do. We're able to help people not only make money, but we're helping people with amazing products like cannabis. And so this is another way to get the word out there, people. And if I had a brand, I would be implementing direct mail ASAP. And I'll put a link to Postpilot in all the groups that I have this posted in, people, so you can reach out to Drew and his team if you're interested.
If you go to postpilot.com/GFO, that's the Godfather offer. That's the offer you can't refuse. Cool. That's where we have like details on how we do it for you.
Nice. So go check that out. Postpilot.com/GFO.
Yeah, give my team some work, man.
Let's go.
People are sitting around today.
Nice. And Drew, I really appreciate you spending the time with me, and let's do this again in the near future, because I just, not everybody's going to see these videos, so we'll do it again.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. And like I'm at Drew at postpilot.com. I'm on Twitter, Drew Sanocki.
How do you spell that?
Drew Sanocki, SAN as in Nancy, OCKI. That's my Twitter handle.
Cool.
That's kind of where I am.
What up, people? Drew is the man, and his partner on this is Ezra Firestone, who probably a lot of you know.
No, he's not.
Oh, I thought he was a partner. Sorry.
No, he put some money in the business. He invested, but and he uses it on Boom.
Yeah, that's what I noticed. And I saw him on the ads or something, so I thought he was one of the founders. Sorry,
he's a popular guy, so I pound Ezra in all the ads.
Yeah, he is the man, and so if Ezra Firestone is using it, it's good enough for him. It should be good enough for you, people, because he's one of the top e-commerce guys in the world, in my opinion.
He's the best. I think the world of him. He's really
he's sharp. He's funny too. Like I saw him at a speaking engagement when I met him, and he was like dancing on stage and just having fun and totally laid back.
he's just so good, at that.
And working the crowd for sure.
Totally.
Well, Drew, I appreciate you spending time on a Friday, and we'll catch up again soon. And thanks again, buddy.
Sure thing. Good luck, everybody.
People, we'll talk to you all soon. And everybody said thank you, and they enjoyed it, so I appreciate that.
Awesome.
All right, Drew. See you again soon.